Hi, Maria Matarelli here, and I am excited to be having an interview with Torsten, Hansen and Vispi, Shroff. And we are going to be talking about personal agility today. Now, you guys are both agilists, and would love to hear a little bit more, if you could share a little bit about your background as coaches, as agilists, and then we'll start talking a little bit more about personal agility.
Do you want to go first, Vispi?
Sure. Yeah, so I work and live in Ireland. I'm an agile coach. I started learning about Scrum and implementing it back in 2006, and so that was with a small startup. And since then, I've been working with loads of different companies. At the moment, I'm working as an agile coach in Ireland's second largest bank, and it's been a fun journey.
Okay, awesome. And Torsten?
Yeah, I'm from Denmark, and I've been doing agile since almost since before it was invented, I guess, or came up as a definition in different companies and so on. And today I'm also an agile coach and Scrum Master working at a company in Copenhagen, Edlund, where we develop software for the pension funds industry. I'm not sure about the correct English word, but that's the closest I can go to that.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. It's awesome to have you here. Vispi coming from Ireland, Torsten from Denmark, and I am here in St. Petersburg, Florida, in the U.S. And just to give a little bit more background, the topic we want to talk about today is personal agility. And this is something I've been exploring over the last several years. And Peter Stevens, another Agile coach and trainer, he and I co-founded the Personal Agility Institute. And part of the reason for this is we started looking at how to apply Agile outside of IT, but outside of work altogether. And if you can apply Agile to your life, what is it that you could do, right? We see all these amazing results of Agile at work and businesses, like what's the tagline for Scrum? Doing twice the work in half the time. How can we apply this? Could you get that in your personal life if you apply these same concepts? Now, one of the challenges that I always had was sustainable pace. And that may sound familiar to some others because we've got so many things that are always going on. We're trying to balance work, family life. There's so many different aspects, and not even just considering life itself, but technology. Like there's so many notifications we're getting. We're expected to be able to respond to work emails and all kinds of things at any point in time. And the landscape seems to be, and you guys tell me if you're sensing the same thing, people are just so busy all the time and they're rushing around. They're going from work. They're trying to do their family responsibilities. And not only is it maybe not balanced, but people seem stressed, and it's just not necessarily a lot of people I talk to don't seem to be doing things that are really matter to them in life. I feel like a lot of people have dreams or they have things that they want to do, and they find themselves going with the flow or caught up with all the busy stuff. And so let's just spend a moment here talking about, what is the landscape of society today? And we've got multiple different countries represented here, different regions of the world. And, why is it that taking concepts like Agile and applying them in your personal life is beneficial? And what do you guys see as the value of that? Torsten, do you want to start us off for that one?
That's a big question.
Oh, we're going deep. We're going deep.
Yeah. So I think when we started out on the personal agility here, I was a little bit hesitant to see what was happening. But I think I think I'm getting a little bit more done now. But I think the even greater benefit is that it offers a way to actually visualize what I'm actually doing over a week, and also be a bit more conscious about how I spend my time during a week.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what would you say, if you remember back before you started applying personal agility, what were some of the challenges that maybe you'd faced, or other challenges that you see with colleagues, peers, friends that this can help with? Like, why is it something that to even look at?
I think it's the the conscious decision about what you want to do the next week, and the whole process about setting up what really matters to you help create some direction. So you have goals that you can say, okay, is this important compared to my personal goals?
Awesome, thank you. And Vispi, I'll give you a shot at sharing your thoughts on this topic too.
Yeah, I think, like you said at the start, life is busy, and there's a lot happening all the time, and not just in people's lives, but even in work. And it can become quite noisy, and before you know it, you're just caught along in it, and you're just going along without knowing it, so without being aware. So I think, yeah, society has become a bit that way, and probably one of the things in relation to that then is that suddenly waking up some morning and realizing, hold on a second, I spent 10 years, I spent 4 years, or whatever it may be, just drifting along or going with the flow, not realizing, is this the direction I want to go in or not, or what? So for me, certainly when, before I kind of came into personal agility, I would have done a lot of work. I would have done a lot of work on myself. I'd be fairly self-aware, but I think for me it was being more effective, and actually becoming more clear in my own head about what that direction, what that goal was, and being more effective at kind of rowing in that direction.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, because I think part of the concept there is we want to be intentional about what we do, right? And that's where a lot of times you have the phrase life happened, or you are going along with things at work, or the flow of things with family. And one thing that I'm seeing is a lot of people are doing a lot of things for others, but not necessarily taking the time to take care of themselves. And that is noble, especially if you have a family, right? If you're a mom or a dad. But what I'm noticing is that there's a lot of people that seem unhappy, or at least just like busy all the time, and just like kind of rushed, and they just don't seem to be fulfilled, right? And like, look at even just basic customer service now in society. Like, it's awful on a lot of like scales. Now there's a couple exceptions. I've run into some very quality customer service encounters recently that gives hope for humanity in my mind. But people, they don't seem to be happy in their jobs. They seem to be just going through the motions. And I feel like when we don't feel like we're in control of our life and the outcome, I mean, that's sad. That's disappointing. That's a bleak outlook. And if we can be intentional about the things we do, about reaching goals, about keeping commitments to ourselves, knowing it's okay to prioritize ourselves, like, this is something that I don't hear a lot of people talking about a lot, especially in the corporate world. And I think that it could lead, let's get back to like the basics of business. We're creating an output, like a product or service for a customer. If we have happier people, they're more engaged at work, and then our products are probably going to be better. Our customers are going to be happier, right? So from the business perspective and from the life perspective, there's a lot of benefits. So, one of the things that I was pretty excited about earlier this year is Lisa Atkins and I had the opportunity to co-lead an online cohort and coach a group of people going through the personal agility system. And I was really excited that you guys joined us for that. And I would love to hear if you could share a little bit about how did you first hear about personal agility, what led you to join the cohort, and any takeaways or observations or things you'd like to share with people that are maybe interested in learning more about personal agility.
Yeah, I think I heard about it from Lisa Atkins. I met her at some point, and she was talking about going to St. Petersburg, and I thought it was a very different St. Petersburg than one in Florida.
The Russia one, perhaps?
Exactly. I thought it was it because she was in Europe. So that was the first time I heard about it. And I think one of my takeaway from it is being more aware about procrastination. That maybe sometimes it's okay to procrastinate, but also be aware about it. And so how do you spend your time So I think that's one of the important things for me.
Okay, awesome. And Vispi, where did you first hear about it, and what were some of your takeaways?
I heard about it through Lisa as well at the start of the year. So yeah, and we would have done a lot of work with Lisa on other agile things. So it was, when she mentioned it, it just made a lot of sense to do it. I think I'm still taking, that was in April. This is now September. And I'm still taking things away from it, new things that I'm learning. But immediately at the time, 2 or 3 things that jumped out for me was actually getting to realize how much work I was getting through. I wasn't necessarily aware of the amount of work I was getting through, and giving myself a pat on the back for that. So becoming more aware of the work I was getting through, and also becoming more aware that I probably wasn't recognizing myself for that. So there's an element in personal agility around celebrating what you do, and that for me was it opened my eyes that I didn't do that necessarily for myself personally, but it also made me then question and think about how am I doing that with the teams that I work with? Am I celebrating with them? Am I getting them to celebrate their achievements? So just it increased my awareness in those ways at the time.
That's amazing. And those are actually 2 very common themes that we hear from people that have been applying personal agility, is the concept of, 1, procrastination. I am a recovering procrastinator. That's something that I've been struggling with for a while. And I have good justifications for it, because I justify it by saying, like, I line up a bunch of stuff that it's like barely feasible to be able to do, like, as a human in like a certain time constraint. And like, I do my best to do it all. I like slide in at the last minute, like you see on those movies where like the door's shutting and you're about to get locked in a tomb and they like slide through the door. Like, I do that like all the time. And so, we've debated the concept of the last responsible moment in Agile versus the first irresponsible moment. And I like to live in the first irresponsible moment. And, the concept there is, I feel like I work best with deadlines, and I push myself because, like, for example, a presentation. If I didn't have a presentation coming up at this venue, at this event, then I would not ever put that presentation together. But because there's a deadline, now, will I not make the first, second, or third email where they request me to send it in? Perhaps. Will I be up till 2 a.m. the night before finishing that presentation? Often. But after I've done that once, I have that presentation. So, this is a way of work. You're talking about being self-aware, right, Vispi? This is something that I say that I want to change, but I've gotten a little bit better, but I still have those habits and patterns where I procrastinate. I think a lot of people do that, right? Now, some people don't do that, and I admire that very much, and I would love to learn more about how I can do better. But the thing is, like, procrastination, like, if something really matters to you, and just to give a little bit of a context on the concept of personal agility, it's a simple framework to do more of what matters. And we start by looking at, with a holistic view of your life, if you got the top 3 to 4 things that really matter in your life, and you're able to say, these are the things that, looking at everything, I would like to prioritize. And let's say we color code them and we build a visual priorities map around this. You can visually see what you're doing for each of these categories every week. I've had times where I've actually created like a different color that isn't really mapped to anything. So I can track, like, hey, surf the internet for 2 hours. That did not support any of my life goals in any way, shape, or form. And I want to be able to visualize that, right? There's actually someone that, this is like, it's like fascinating, but it's also like a little bit like heart-wrenching. We were doing the coaching call at the end of the 4 weeks that she'd been applying personal agility. And I was like, what's this like dark, murky gray color? It's like almost a black. I'm like, what does that stand for? That's not one of your things that matter. And she goes, oh, those are things that make me feel dead inside. And I was like, wow, that's heavy. Like, there was a lot of that color. And I was like, wow. So like the majority of your days are filled with things that make you feel dead inside. Like, wow, to be able to visualize that, to see it. And I mean, by visualizing it, as we know with using Agile, you can then have some data, have some information to make different decisions. So is that the same way we want to keep living? Is that the same? Are those the same things we want to do week to week? Or what could we do that are one of these other nice bright colors, like a yellow or a purple or green, right? And what are things we could choose to do differently in our week that are things that are energize us, right? So like procrastination, I've struggled with that a lot myself. And Vispi, I love that you mentioned not knowing or recognizing the things that you did do and being able to actually bring more awareness to that. It actually got, for me, I'm a very tough critic of myself. I had an intern this summer, and he exceeded my expectations like multiple times, like more than just about anybody. And I was trying to explain to her how high my expectations are. So actually I stood on my counter here, and I like put my hand up on the ceiling, and I put my hand up against the ceiling, and I was like, these are my expectations, just so you know, and you have exceeded them. And she was delighted at that, right? But I had the realization shortly thereafter that there's a lot of times that I don't even meet my own expectations because I'm such a harsh critic of myself. And, when you think about self-talk and negative self-talk and how hard we are on ourselves, like, that's not a way to live, right? How are you really going to get your goals, achieve them, and even have happiness and fulfillment if you're being too hard on yourself, or if you're even just not realizing what you're doing and your achievements? So a few years back, I actually noticed that as a problem, and I started to do a PowerPoint presentation every month on why January was awesome, why February was awesome. And looking back on that, I was like, holy crap, like, this is a great year. But like, I never realized it because I was so busy doing stuff that I go from one thing to the next, not even appreciating or realizing what I'd achieved. And so I love that you pointed it out, Vispi, like with a breadcrumb trail and personal agility, we're tracking our progress. We can visualize, hey, am I getting better? Am I doing less surfing of the internet every day or of the week, right? Like, am I doing things that are more aligned, and am I getting closer to my goals? So I think that that's also something a lot of people can relate to. So question for you guys, how do you feel? So a lot of people think about, how does Agile apply? They're like, oh, could you apply this outside of work, right? Like, a lot of people think about that topic. I hear people say it. What do you think would be like the benefit when people start to think about the concept of personal agility? Like, why is it something that they'd want to consider? What were any other insights that you gathered? Or, why is it, just applying Agile outside of work, what I found is that it works just to use Agile, right? But I had trouble with sustainable pace. So I'm curious if there's any other insights you'd like to share about your own personal experiences, or perhaps share a story where personal agility helped you.
Yeah, definitely before, when I would have thought about applying Agile to life, it would have been pretty much stick a few post-it notes up on a wall or on the fridge or something and just try and maintain it. One of the big differences actually is what happens on either side of that. So asking the question around what matters most to you, and then creating that list based on that is a list that is a lot more aligned with where you are and what you want to do. And that was a big piece for me. And then on the other side of it, once you've done things, kind of keeping track of what you've done, but also celebrating what you've done. So I'm repeating myself a bit here, but obviously that was a big theme for me. But it also, as we actually continue to do that more, things that kind of emerged were fears, or things that you kind of say you want to do this, but really you're not actually putting the actions or actually following up on those actions that you might even have on your list to do, but they are getting procrastinated. And if it's continuous procrastination, for me anyway, there might have been some fears behind that. So then being able to actually talk through that with someone, work with a coach on that, helped me get through those and beyond them. Breaking things down into big pieces, down into smaller chunks, more manageable, bite-sized chunks to actually then allow you to progress through that work. Things like that. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I appreciate that so much, Vispi, because you're talking about not just can I get better at getting things done? You're talking about can we get to the root of why things aren't getting done? Like, and I think many of us can relate to that where we say something's important. I want to do this, but then weeks have passed, months have passed. I have a friend that had a very big goal of like health and fitness last year. And it's kind of interesting. I'm starting to get, you know how Facebook will tell you the year memories like a year later? It'll say, hey, on this day, a year ago or 5 years ago, I'm getting all these little memories popping up. And there's, you know, us in the gym, working out. And I just asked her a question the other day. I was like, hey, I remember you said this was a big goal for you. Are you where you want to be? And she's like, no. And it's a year later. So like, how is it that years can pass for things we say are important and we don't do them, right? Like it might sound pretty simple of, oh yeah, just use Agile and get stuff done. But whoa, wait a minute. We have to have mechanisms in for our own self-sabotage. Like this is like some serious stuff where you need to go deeper. If you really want to get more effective in the things that you're doing, and if you want to live a life that's maybe one step further than where you're at now, if your status quo is good, but you like want to get to great, you have to do something different. And I love that you brought that up, this, because, you know, that's one of the things that we had talked about in the program was the concept of fear. And what is it that's really holding us back? And if we don't stop and slow down and think about that or ask those real coaching questions to dig into what's behind that, then we may just repeat old patterns and not get there and then maybe wonder why. Another year comes by. Now it's 2 years ago on Facebook, your memory of you said this is what you want to do, right? So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
I think there's another element in this, and that is that usually these are things that we either struggle with ourselves or close family, and with the celebrate and choose and having a coaching body, you actually get a different set of eyes that might help you see a different perspective in what you are trying to achieve.
I like that. Yeah, because we talk about having that accountability and having someone to just sync with on a weekly basis and having someone that can ask those powerful questions. You know, is this where you want to be? And if we can catch it on a weekly basis, maybe we can prevent months from passing and years from passing. And then you look up and, oh my gosh, it's already September 2019. What happened? How did we get here? And I think that's when you look at perspective on life. I remember, you know, a lot of people say that, oh man, I can't believe it's already fall, or I can't believe it's already the fourth quarter coming up. And I remember even a couple years ago, I used to have people saying that a lot. And I remember thinking, what do you mean? Look at everything I've achieved. It's September and look what I've achieved this year, right? Because when you're intentional about what you want to do and intentional about your life and your goals and your actions, that's going to get us the results, right? And it's not rocket surgery, right? Like we have these techniques that we use in work, so why not apply them to our lives, right? Like why not look at how can we're getting success in business. Like all the major companies, Fortune 100 companies in the world are using Agile to get to market faster, to be more effective in how they work. So why not apply that to your life, right? Like it kind of makes sense. So you guys have a little tour coming up. You have the Vienna Agile Tour, September 20th. You guys are presenting on personal agility, and the Dublin Agile Tour on October 1st. And tell us a little bit about that. So tell us about, what are you going to talk about in the presentation? Tell us about the process of when you were submitting. Like, what made you want to start to spread the concept of personal agility and share your stories on it?
Torsten, do you want to take that one?
Oh, that's another tough one. Vispi and I meet on a regular basis, so we have been talking about different things and topics to discuss and present. And one of the topics on the Agile tour was applying Agile. I think it said outside software or something like that. So then it kind of became obvious that that would be a path for us to take. So and I think for what we're going to do there, we'll try to tell our own story and tell a little bit about what is personal agility about, and try to make it interactive and so on. Hopefully a little bit fun. At least we think the title is fun, since it now Vispi, that's over to your part. I think I lost that.
Yeah. So yeah. So we wanted to talk about. I mean, personal agility has had a big impact. Certainly for me, it has had a big impact. And I think it's the same for Torsten. So we wanted to talk about that. It's a new theme that we are seeing, which is agile outside IT, and it just made sense. It's also something that's high impact. Personal agility, at least what we've experienced, it's been high impact for me. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about our own experiences, our own learnings, both in life, but also in some of the things we are doing. So Torsten, the first time I ever saw Torsten introduce himself, and he was asked what were his hobbies was brewing beer, and Torsten also likes to farm. Over the years I've known him, I've come to know of him as he's not an agile coach who also likes to farm. He's actually a farmer who happens to do a bit of agile coaching. You know?
There you go.
So Torsten's been brewing beer, and obviously everyone would love to know about how would you go about brewing beer and drink some beer. And I've been building a little shed that morphed into an office space in my back garden, and took a very agile approach to it. So we're going to kind of pull in some of our stories from those experiences into this as well, as we go on tour.
Oh, very cool. I like it. And, I think this is something that a lot of people, it's beginning to get more and more traction in the industry for agile outside of IT, which is very exciting because, as we know, agile can be applied to pretty much anything. And so, we're using agile in marketing. We're looking at agile in your life, and, whether you're working on, building a project, running a business. Look at Joe Justice, what he's doing with Scrum and hardware, like absolutely incredible because the concepts just work, right? So love that you guys are sharing your personal experience. Love that you're helping to inspire people on how to apply agile in different ways. So that's pretty exciting. So are there any other things you'd like to share about, as we're sitting here talking about personal agility, any final insights, thoughts, takeaways that you'd like to talk about?
No, nothing really comes to mind here. I don't know if Vispi is laughing, so he might have something up his sleeve.
No, nothing up my sleeves there.
All right, awesome. Well, would like to go ahead and wrap up our conversation here by sharing with people, if they would like to learn more about personal agility, Torsten and Vispi are going to be leading an online cohort, very similar to the one Lisa Adkins and I led earlier this year, and it's going to start November 4th. Is that right?
That's right.
So we've got 4 weeks, 1 call per week, and there's an online system where I've got some videos that I put together that is going to walk you through applying personal agility, taking these techniques, applying it to your life, doing some self-reflection, getting in the groove of systematically looking at, hey, what really matters and what could I do that's more aligned with the things that I want to be doing? If you're here and you want to get here, what are the ways to get there? As we know from the Satir change model, you don't just one day magically jump up to that new goal and achievement, just like, ta-da, I would like this. I want a new job. And then, voila, there it is, right? Like there's stuff we have to do, and sometimes there's a little chaos along the way, but what is it that you could do if you're more intentional about it? If you're looking at, how do I procrastinate? What are some fears that are holding me back? Just, not necessarily fun stuff to really explore and dig into, but things that you'll appreciate later on. And so I'm really excited to be helping to support you guys in this and collaborating on this because basically I think it's limited seats, right? Like we're probably going to cap it at maybe 9 people-ish, maybe a couple more, maybe not. So not that many seats. But if anyone that's watching this, if you're interested in learning more about personal agility, if you'd like to get a little bit more of an insight into this, feel free to reach out to any of us. But the next course is going to be November 4th, and there's going to be a weekly call where we'll be guiding you through every week, applying personal agility and getting those insights, discovering what are some of the things that you're either doing or not doing that are going to help you get to that place that you want to be next in life. So I will go ahead and post the link at the bottom of this post. For those that are interested, it's PASonline.eventbrite.com. So PAS for Personal Agility System, online, NOV for November, starting November 4th. .eventbrite.com. So we will share that link with you guys. And Torsten and Vispi, very excited to hear how your presentations go at the Agile Tour in Vienna and Dublin. And I think it's going to be exciting to hear what people are thinking about these concepts that you're sharing. Very cool to hear you're going to be sharing your personal stories, and really excited for other people to join us on this journey. So thank you guys for taking the time today. It is midday here in the States. I know it's nighttime there, so I appreciate your flexibility with the time zone. And we'll look forward to staying in touch and following up on hearing how your presentations go.
Sure. Thanks a million, Maria.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys. We'll catch you later.
Bye.